Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage one of the 2023 Vuelta a España. Today's individual time trial. When you went to sleep last night, it was really nothing to think about, right? I told you guys on Beyond the Coverage that Jumbo-Visma were going to win it for sure, basically, or I'm a 100% knucklehead. Well, that's what I that's what I thought when I was going to bed. But when I woke up this moment, I only needed 1 second to see the film coverage of the course, and I knew it was going to be an interesting team time trial today on stage one of the Vuelta a España. Now, the stage, 14.8 kilometers long, just under 15K, technical through the city streets, but they're going to leave the coastal side and go on. The first 200 meters is slightly uphill, and it's laid down map there with all red, so it's a little bit slippery, and the rain is starting. Now, I counted about 20 corners in today's course, and you got to remember, with the rain dropping down, when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, I'm thinking, wow, these guys are going to be doing 60, 65, maybe hitting 70 kilometers an hour, coming down these straightaways when they come into these turns. They got team of 8 riders all lined out. The person at the back, the riders sitting 7th and 8th, they are going to be suffering big time if they can't rotate through to get up to the front to occasionally start getting a little bit of rest in that 3rd, 4th, 5th position in the 8-man team time trial train here, because those are the spots where you can get a little bit of rest. When you're sitting 7th and 8th, going through the roundabouts, going through the lefts, the rights on the slippery roads here in Barcelona, it's going to be chaos. Now, when the racing starts, we see Caja Royale leave the start ramp. They're going to come through with the fastest time just because they're first, but it's the second team just behind them, DSM. Look how they're taking off, and you see as they're coming through the roundabouts and the turns, they're all single file in perfect formation there. They'll come through to set the fastest time at 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, the conditions were wet for these guys, and I was thinking a little bit they could have a shot at winning the stage because they're going off early, or it could be it starts raining so much sometimes it could wash away some of the gas and the oil that's on the road. So maybe the last teams it dries up for completely, or maybe it rains so much throughout the 2-hour event that by the time the last teams go off, that all of a sudden the roads could be a little bit clear. Man, I was dead wrong because I didn't look at my clock close enough, because I'm on West Coast time, right? When the race is over in Spain and Barcelona, and by the time the last teams leave the ramp, it's going to start being dark. So we got DSM in the hot seat. They came through with the fastest time, like I said, 17 minutes, 30 seconds. They're all sitting there in the hot seat, getting a little bit excited, because I got to believe they think there's somewhat of a chance, but not too much, because you still have Remco Evenepoel here with Pseudo Quickstep and the 5-star absolute favorite, Jumbo-Visma. But will Jumbo-Visma want to take big-time risks when they got Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic? Remember, we all know the history with Primoz Roglic crashing a bit too much when you compare him to some of the other professional riders, but we know he's one of the best riders in the world. I got him 3rd best on the Butterfly Effect and here on Beyond the Coverage, and ahead of Remco Evenepoel before the Vuelta a España starts here. So they're stacked. If I'm the director sportif from Jumbo-Visma, I'm thinking, never mind, we're not interested in winning today's stage. We are going to take things easy, and we are going to take things safe so we can get Primoz Roglic across the line safe and Jonas Vingegaard. So what if you lose 30, 45 seconds on first place, whichever team is to win the stage? I'm thinking the same thing when I saw the interview from UAE Team Emirates Machine, where he said the #1 priority is to get my riders across the line safe. Well, after DSM crossed the line, we saw some action from EF Education. They'll come through with about 2nd place best time early in this team time trial event. Now, we go back just after EF Education finished, there starts being chaos all over the place. Arkea Samsic is the team that starts crashing first. They got guys going down, 3 of them coming in just near the finishing corners here on the team time trial stage 1 as they're first to go down. After them, one of the teams that was one of the spectacular ones with crashing has to be Alpecin de Koenig. Guys, they were 45 seconds into the race. They're coming through the roundabout on the left side of the roundabout. Look there in the picture, just 1st place, 2nd place. Both riders are going down. They're down to 6 riders already. We're 45 seconds for Alpecin de Koenig's ride of the team time trial. Now, as they're coming into the finish of today's stage, they're going down again all over the place, and they're going to take every rider they possibly can to get up after crashing and finish with 5 riders on today's stage and lose a bunch of time for Alpecin de Koenig. Next team to start paying attention to, Ineos. Ineos have big-time favorites, right? Geraint Thomas, he went 2nd at the Giro d'Italia while wearing pink jersey at the 2023 edition of this season. Now he's here trying to go for general classification, or maybe he's just trying to go for stages. We don't know yet from his interviews. He's been a little bit spotty talking about his form. But in the team time trial, we know Ineos are stacked with solid riders here with power throughout the 8-rider roster here. And if you look at the start line there, that's Filippo Ganna. He's a 2-time world individual time trial champion. So they'll roll off the ramp. Filippo Ganna control the pace, and they'll start going full gas. It'll only be about 5-8 minutes into their time, though, when we start seeing Geraint Thomas on the front, coming down the straightaway into the right turn. Look just behind him, that's De Plus. De Plus hits probably the brake just a little bit too hard, loses the front wheel. He goes down and crashes, and this is going to ruin any kind of positive time for Team Ineos. They'll finish the stage with just enough riders, losing Filippo Ganna, who flatted out, along with the crash from De Plus. He'll drop out of the Vuelta a España after the end of today's stage, but they'll only lose 20 seconds. Geraint Thomas to the time up front of DSM. Now there's other big teams still on the ramp because Jumbo-Visma's getting ready to leave. We all know they're the hot favorite. I told you yesterday and beyond the coverage, but like I said earlier in the video here, I didn't know it was going to be raining. Jumbo-Visma early in the race, we see them all over the place. Teams split up all over, and I don't even know what's going on. They'll come back together, have 8 riders working hard in the middle part of this course, but then they're going to finish with 6 riders. Most important thing, though, Jonas Vingegaard's there, Primož Roglič is there, and that's why we see them celebrating at the finish when they cross the line. They'll lose 33 seconds to DSM. But when you look at Primož Roglič, he's high-fiving his teammates after the line. I'd be doing the same thing. At 33 seconds, it was intelligent riding from Jumbo-Visma. I would have ran it spotless the same way that they did. Keep everybody upright because you know with Jonas Vingegaard, the #1 ranked rider in the world, and the #3 ranked rider in the world, Primož Roglič, if you can't make up 33 seconds on DSM riders and any other GC favorite riders in front of you after today's stage 1, well, you probably weren't going to win anyways. But there's other teams still left down the road. We're going to look back at Movistar. They're leaving late here on stage 1 of the Vuelta a España, but they're setting a blistering time. They're up by just under 10 seconds at the halfway check with about 9 kilometers to go, and they're flying. When they come out of the last corner, they got just a few seconds, about 7 seconds, 6 seconds to go coming out of the last corner. We see it's Enric Mas leading the train. Enric Mas, how are you leading the train? If I take you guys back and rewind the tape 2 years ago to the Tour de France, he was getting dropped from the brake on the descents and having problems holding wheels all over the place. Now in the wet, slippery, miserable conditions, and it's starting to get dark, Enric Mas is blowing through the finish line, and he'll set the fastest time. Only problem is he's not the 5th rider here, but he's gapped off the 3 riders behind him, and as the 5th rider comes through, he'll be even on time with DSM, but because they got it all the way down to the half seconds here, DSM will hold on to the race lead. Now you look at the hot seat there with DSM, and again you see Romain Bardet. Romain Bardet is starting to get a little nervous now because the wily veteran, he knows it's a possibility to win, but you still got Quick Step out on the course. Quick Step setting a blazing time, going through all the corners. They'll come out of the last corner, and we know Quick Step's Remco Evenepoel's not going to win the stage, but he'll cross the line 6 seconds down on DSM and Movistar of Enric Mas. Now that's a fine time right here for pseudo Quick Step's Remco Evenepoel, only losing 6 seconds on today's stage. But look how furious the Belgian rider is. Let me remind you, he won last year's Vuelta a España, and he is furious. He's letting the fans know, he's letting the organizers know that he's not happy with the course. We start looking at the interviews after the race. We see Juan Ayuso's interview. He talks about how today's course, it was hard to see anything. They had problems out there with the team. At one point in time, they had to wait for Almeida for about 2 kilometers to get everyone back together. So Ayuso and Almeida lost some time on today's team time trial, but in general, they kept those guys up and upright all the way into the finish of today's stage. So Ayuso says that he was pretty happy in general with how the stage finished. We look at the interview, though, afterwards from Vermarke, and that's pseudo Quick Step. He is angry. He says, again, they're just monkeys in the zoo right here. Can't believe that they had them racing under these conditions. And when I'm sitting up here talking to you guys on the butterfly effect, I got to agree. Have no problems with guys racing in the rain. Team time trial cannot get any more dangerous, though, when you do have rain falling, but that's the job. You race rain or shine. But why are they racing in the dark? So I gotta agree with Remco Evenepoel that it was ridiculous to start the race here so late in the day that they would be running in the dark, especially when you know that there could be some weather coming in. Now, what does it mean at the end of today's race when we start breaking down all the times? Well, DSM, we see Lorenzo Milesi's in the hot seat, but they do have Romain Bardet. Romain Bardet is a climber, and if I take you back a couple years to the Giro d'Italia, there was a point in time when it looked like he might have been able to win that Giro, but got sick. So tomorrow's stage, normally I thought if Jumbo-Visma had won today's race and were in the hot seat, they could let a breakaway go on tomorrow's stage and possibly switch the red race leader's jersey after tomorrow's stage 2 because they have a category 2 early in the stage. But it's the very finishing climb that's just under 1K, about 900 meters, and just under 9%. That'll go up, descend, and then it still has an uphill finish to finish off tomorrow's stage 2, which means we can see Remco Evenepoel going for a stage victory in tomorrow's stage 2, which could put Remco Evenepoel into the race leader's red jersey at the end of tomorrow's stage if DSM control everything to try to have Romain Bardet be there at the finish of tomorrow's stage 2. I gotta believe they're gonna try and bring everything back together. Now, if I'm Remco Evenepoel from Pseudo Quick-Step, like I told you guys yesterday and beyond the coverage, there's no way I'm riding my guys on the front to protect the breakaway from going up the road. If it goes up the road, I'm letting it go. But if we get all the way into that last 1 kilometer super difficult climb with 9%, then if I'm Pseudo Quick-Step, I'm putting my guys on the front. I'm going to try to control it and take time bonuses, if possible, from Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard. Vingegaard doesn't have much of a sprint, but we all know Primoz Roglic does. Whether if Remco Evenepoel can beat Primoz Roglic at the finish of tomorrow's stage, I'm not so certain because it's hard for me to tell while I'm sitting up here on the podium what the finish looks like. Could be a good finish for Remco Evenepoel, which means it could be a good finish for Primoz Roglic. Either way, if I'm those teams, Jumbo-Visma means they don't have to ride tomorrow because they gave up 33 seconds on today's stage, but they finished safely in the bunch. When you look at other teams like Jayco Alula, who came into the finish going full gas with Eddie Dunbar, they lost about 50 seconds. But look at the picture when Eddie Dunbar's crashing going into this final left bend here before the finish. He's sliding so long, eventually he gets his cleats up underneath him, sliding on his cleats, grabbing his saddle there, gets it all ready to go for when he stops sliding. He pops up, immediately jumps back on his bike and gets going again. But Jayco Alula rider still lost 50 plus seconds on today's stage 1 and crashed in today's stage. Big time general classification favorite though has to be Enric Mas, who's on same time as the DSM rider from Romain Bardet, who's a threat for the general classification too. But Remco Evenepoel, all that complaining after the stage, and you look at it and you're like, wow, you're in the hot seat right here, only 6 seconds down, but 27 seconds up on Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic. Has to be the golden egg opportunity here on stage 1 for the Pseudo Quick-Step rider going further into the mountain stages here of the Vuelta a España, which means you don't have to do anything. When I take you again back to my conversations on Beyond the Coverage yesterday where I said he needs to be that 9th rider for Jumbo-Visma, now, Jumbo-Visma have to drop Remco Evenepoel and put time into him, which means Remco can just follow Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard. And people have talked about in interviews before that Remco Evenepoel might have some pressure on him to win this Vuelta a España. I don't think he has any pressure. I don't care that the Belgian kid won last year's Vuelta a España. When I look at the preview here and you see Jumbo-Visma won Giro d'Italia, they won the Tour de France, they made it known they want the trifecta. They want to do what no teams have ever done, win all 3 in the same season. Hasn't been done in the modern era here of cycling. So if they want to win, they have to ride the front and they have to drop Remco Evenepoel, which means the Pseudo Quick-Step rider along with his teammates. As long as we don't see a Jumbo-Visma rider up in one of the early breaks, if they can control that, they don't have to do any work. Jonas Vingegaard have to put time in the Remco, and so does Primoz Roglic have to put time in the Remco Evenepoel. If they want to win the Vuelta a España and win the Giro, Tour de France, and the Vuelta a España all in the same year. Today's stage was magnificent. I missed all kinds of details. There's no way I can cover it all because it was exciting from start to finish, especially the last teams going off in the dark and the rain. But when you look at the race, at the end, the stage was incredibly exciting, and it's made it even better for us now that Remco Evenepoel is in front of Jumbo-Visma Duel. They have to do some work, and it's going to be a tactical nightmare for Jumbo-Visma if they just don't have outright better legs than Remco Evenepoel in these later mountain stages. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. The racing here at the Vuelta has just begun, and it's going to be hot and heavy throughout the next 3 weeks for sure after this team time trial. Stage 1 has just finished at the Vuelta a España. See you guys on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect real soon.